I want to welcome and thank you all for joining us for today's National Network of Libraries of Medicine's webinar. This is going to be an exciting presentation, so I want to make sure we can get started here on time and give us a chance to have some question and answer time at the end as well. This session today is being hosted by the Greater Midwest region as part of our Kernel of Knowledge series. For those of you who might not be familiar with the Greater Midwest region, we are located at the University of Iowa, hence our Kernel of Corn within our Kernel of Knowledge series logo. Just a few housekeeping items to take note of. You are all automatically muted on entry, so please use the chat panel to ask any questions or make any comments. You might need to exit the full screen mode within Zoom to access the chat box. And when you do access the chat box, you'll notice in the panel that there's a drop-down menu where you can designate who the chat goes to. Just please make sure that when you chat that you mark everyone so that everyone has a chance to see your questions or comments moving forward within the presentation. I mentioned earlier that this session is being recorded, and we will post this on the National Network of Libraries of Medicine's YouTube page for future viewing or reference within the next week or so. We'll also email out the link to all of you who registered so you'll know when that becomes available. You want to go to the next slide, David? Right. I just want to introduce myself quickly as today's host. My name is Derek Johnson. I'm the Health Professionals Outreach Specialist with the Greater Midwest region. And I'll be monitoring the chat and helping facilitate the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. There will be a 1 credit hour MLA CE certificate offered at the end of today's webinar. You'll need to complete an online survey to receive that CE code, and that will be emailed to you when the recording becomes available. So look for that survey and this CE code to become available in about a week when the recording becomes available as well. I have the pleasure of introducing our speakers today, David and Lynda. David is the manager of the Outreach Services Department at St. Charles Public Library, a position he has held since February 2015. He's the 2018-19 treasurer for the Association of Bookmobile and Outreach Services and chairs the Finance Committee. He was previously a 2016-2017 Association of Bookmobile and Outreach Services board member at large and chair of the Awards Committee. He's the co-founder of the Reaching Across Illinois Library Systems Serving Patrons with Dementia Group and is the founder of the Library Integrated Network Consortium's Outreach Task Force. He was a 2017 ALA Emerging Leader, assigned to work with the Office for Diversity, Literacy, and Outreach Services. David was published in the March-April 2017 edition of Public Libraries with the article, "The Power of Community Outreach, Meeting the Demands of the Growing Senior Population." His department was featured in the March-April 2018 edition of American Libraries with the article, "Community Fabric." David received his MLIS from the University of Rhode Island. Our other speaker is Lynda, who is an Outreach Services Assistant at St. Charles Public Library, a position she has held since April 2015. Lynda has worked at the St. Charles Public Library for over 20 years in circulation, youth services, and now in outreach services. Prior to her tenure at the St. Charles Public Library, Lynda worked at the Voices of Vision Talking Book Center in Illinois, where she helped patrons with low vision maintain their joy of reading. Lynda has served on the Association of Bookmobile and Outreach Services Advocacy Committee for 2 years, and she was the recipient of the Illinois Library Association's 2017 Robert P. Doyle Award, which recognizes a support staff member's continuous dedication and commitment to the library field. Lynda received her Library Technical Assistant certificate from the College of DuPage. So 2 great speakers, and I'm going to turn it over to them to get started with the presentation.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Grab and Go Expanding and Strengthening Senior Programming. My name is David Kelsey.
And my name is Lynda Spraner.
And we are excited to be here today to share with you some of the programs that we present at senior facilities in our community, as well as at our library.
St. Charles is located about 35 miles west of Chicago. As a library district, we serve a population of 55,000, 53% of which are cardholders. The original building is a Carnegie Library and is still in public use to date. 2 additions have been added, one in 1964 and one in 1969.
And a little bit about the Outreach Services Department. The Outreach Services Department of the St. Charles Public Library consists of me, David Kelsey, Manager of Outreach Services, and 3 Outreach Services Assistants, Dana Hintz, Lynda Spraner, and Christine Stack. Together, we provide library materials, programming, and engagement activities to 9 senior facilities, 3 home care facilities, and 15 homebound patrons a month. The outreach team also facilitates 15 community book and magazine exchanges, including at our local hospital, homeless shelter, judicial center, Salvation Army, and clinics that provide free counseling, medical, and dental services to individuals living below the poverty line. The senior population continues to grow in the United States, with the Administration on Aging projecting that by 2030, there will be 72.1 million people aged 65 or older living in the United States, twice the number in 2000. It is predicted that by 2050, over 83.7 million people aged 65 and older will live in the U.S. As the senior population continues to rise in the United States, so does the number of individuals living with Alzheimer's disease. As the number of seniors living in the United States continues to grow, including those diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, libraries need to ask themselves the following questions. 1, how does this growing demographic affect my library and community? 2, what library services can we partner to target this population? And 3, what community organizations can we partner with to better serve patrons living with Alzheimer's disease?
Outreach Services takes our shows on the road to 7 senior facilities, but all community seniors are included with the programs at the library. We offer a painting class, for example, along with professional entertainers portraying Cleopatra or Amelia Earhart. Of our facility programs, they may be provided weekly, reading to residents, bi-weekly, PowerPoint presentations on famous people, and some of these are based on patron requests. Monthly, The Attic, using artifacts and collectibles, we encourage engagement. As you can see by these statistics, we are quite busy. We have found that just talking to our patrons did not produce much of a response. Therefore, we have collected a variety of objects that will encourage a reaction. Education is always a key element to our programming. We will have facts, history, and trivia about the era, person, object, or place we are presenting. We have a theme for each presentation. Those facts, in many cases, are presented using a PowerPoint presentation projected so all can see. Music is a huge component in interacting with an audience at a senior facility. We may play music or even put on a performance with props or costumes. We try to incorporate all the senses with our programming, and of course, we are there to brighten their day, so we always have fun.
Now, a little bit about our programming at senior facilities, especially with patrons living with Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Outreach Services decided to launch senior programming following the 2015 Association Bookmobile and Outreach Services Conference in St. Charles. We were inspired by Mary Beth Reidner, guest speaker and creator of the Tales and Travel Memories program. Mary Beth is the founder and past chair of the Alzheimer's and Related Dementias Interest Group, or IGARD. Tales and Travel was the first program we offered to facilities. We started presenting Tales and Travel at 3 memory facilities in November 2015, and it has now expanded into presenting at 6 facilities. Outreach Services presents the program 4 times each year, in September, November, March, and May. Outreach develops large-type educational booklets for our Tales and Travel programs. Booklets for all of our programs are one-sided and 16-point veranda font, which allows seniors to easily read the information. Our Tales and Travel booklet contains facts about the country, information about popular sites, and folklore on the country. Outreach incorporates ethnic spices, cultural music, fun character voices, and a world globe into our Tales and Travel programs. For our Tales and Travel Germany program that we presented in September, we featured such spices as caraway seeds, bay leaves, and dill, which are all used in traditional German cooking. The spices go into small containers that we hold for residents to smell. Patrons love my high squeaky voices that I use during folklore readings, and I get to use my acting and theater skills while presenting. We recently updated our World Globe to an inflatable one. This enables patrons to hold and interact with the globe during presentations. Outreach staff member pass out children's books, pictures, and souvenirs on each country during Tales and Travel. We spend time engaging with patrons, looking at books and souvenirs together, and asking if they have visited the country before. A story that displays the positive effect that Tales and Travel has on those living with memory loss was when Outreach Services was presenting a Tales and Travel program on Japan at a care center this past November. While we were passing out a traditional Japanese fan to the residents that they could hold and examine, a Japanese woman who was normally disengaged demonstrated to all of the residents how to properly hold and wave the fan. Stories like this illustrate why we do our job in Outreach Services. Outreach Services created 8 educational engagement kits, which are used by staff to engage patrons and were specifically developed to assist in memory. These 8 sets were developed around specific themes: movie stars, TV stars, music stars, comedians, cooking, the holidays, country music stars, and Western TV shows. Each contains an informational booklet with facts, background history, and photos, along with small objects that patrons may hold and examine. For example, Remembering Movie Stars features movie stars from the 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s, such as Marilyn Monroe and John Wayne. The objects in this kit are an Oscar statue, ruby slippers, pink opera gloves, and a fedora hat. Our Remembering Comedians kit features comedians from the 1930s to the 1960s, including Phyllis Diller, Joan Rivers, and Edgar Bergen. The kit contains funny glasses, clown noses, a bicycle horn, and a ventriloquist dummy. Booklets are laminated and are in larger print. Each resident receives a booklet and follows along during the presentations given by outreach staff at long-term care and memory facilities. Currently, Outreach Services is in the process of developing several additional educational and engagement kits. These kits will feature patriotic holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, I Love Lucy, and each of the 4 seasons. Collect vintage and antique items to incorporate into facility programming. These items inspire memories, engage patrons, and invigorate the senses. St. Charles Public Library developed the Attic Memory Wagon. We feature new attic programs every month, revolving around 3 themes: fashion, household appliances and products, and travel in the USA. Recent attic programs include Howard Johnson's, Holiday Inn, Pan American Airlines, Depression Glassware, Fiesta Pottery, Route 66, Texaco, and Sinclair Oil, fashion and jewelry trends, and national parks of the United States. We purchase items from antique and thrift stores, the flea market, and online at Etsy. We developed informational handouts to accompany the programs that feature facts, trivia, and photographs. Favorite patron comments during Addict programs include, "This takes me to way back when. These bring back great memories, and I used to wear something just like that." A fond memory was when 3 ladies modeled a blue pillbox hat, a style made famous by First Lady Jackie Kennedy in the 1960s. We present Addict programs at 6 facilities each month, which engage 90 seniors.
In addition to our education and engagement kits, we developed interactive programming we call Grab and Go. These short programs can be presented to a group using projection as well as an individual who may be bedridden. Some topics on file are Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, the Kennedys, and the Olympics. The packets include 3D items, fun facts, trivia quizzes, YouTube videos, and music.
Following a 2015 Reaching Across Illinois Library System conference, Outreach Services was inspired to launch the community-wide fidget quilt project. Fidget quilts and aprons feature zippers, bells, buckles, beads, and other manipulative items to relieve the stress and nervous tension associated with Alzheimer's disease and engage fine motor skills. We partnered with local churches and sewing groups who crafted fidget quilts for our project. This past holiday season, we delivered 50 quilts and aprons to local care and memory care facilities, which residents are able to keep. Outreach will host our next fidget quilt project in December 2019. To learn more about our most recent fidget quilt project, check out the March-April 2018 edition of American Libraries magazine, where the St. Charles Public Library was featured in the Library Trends article, Community Fabric. The St. Charles Public Library also offers several reading programs. Lynda will be sharing these programs.
Patrons of all ages love to be read to. We may use a short story or folklore that can be read in 10 to 15 minutes, or a larger book where a chapter is read at each visit. At one of our assisted living facilities, a group of talking book users has formed a book club. I facilitate the discussion, but the residents participate and choose their next read. The discussions are quite lively. The National Library Service provides the books, and their catalog is very up to date with the newest titles.
And the library, St. Charles Public Library, also showcases and utilizes animal therapy into our senior programming.
We have introduced these realistic, huggable stuffed animals to our Alzheimer's dementia patrons. We have found the best approach is to put them out, and the residents will take them if they want. I take them when I'm reading to residents, and the patrons cuddle them while I am talking. Warning, they may be hard to get back.
This past March, Outreach Services collaborated with the local therapy animal organization and arranged to have a local therapy dog visit one of our care centers. Harry the poodle visited 25 individual rooms and was also introduced to large groups of residents. Harry and his handler visited over 50 residents in 2 hours. Residents were able to learn about the dog, laugh, have fun, and reminisce about their former pets. And now a little bit about the music programs that the Outreach Services Department presents to care and memory facilities. Each December, Outreach Services schedules a holiday sing-along at 2 care centers. Library staff and their families volunteer to participate. We create large type booklets that feature the song's words so patrons can join in on the fun. Staff members passed out complimentary jingle bells to residents that they can keep. Carolers sing a variety of religious and secular songs, including The First Noel, Frosty the Snowman, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. We sing for 25 minutes and engage 50 residents at each care center.
With a variety of rhythmic instruments we make available to the residents, they learn the history and culture of the country where the instruments originate. We play recorded music that they can jam along with, and we have a sampling of the instruments here on display.
Outreach Services arranges to have local musicians visit and perform at our care centers. I often schedule to have my flute orchestra play or perform a recital with the pianist at my church. We play a variety of religious, secular, folk, patriotic, and classical songs. A fond memory during a performance was when residents were singing along to the tunes, How Great Thou Art and Amazing Grace. The library also hosts several special events at our local senior facilities. We will be talking more about these special events that we host.
Themed programs have become very popular with our patrons in assisted living and independent complexes. Here, we invited a college music student to accompany David and me for a whimsical program of limericks, folklore, and music. Even a leprechaun stopped by for the fun. David, Dana, and I presented a 1950 sock hop at one of our independent senior apartment complexes. We presented a PowerPoint presentation with facts, trivia, and YouTube videos of famous artists of the era. We brought along some jewelry and fashions to share and to make it that much more fun. We served malts. Chris was on hand to help the regular readers, and we played to a full house. At the same complex, we returned for an encore performance to celebrate the 4th of July. Again, we used YouTube videos to play songs. We encouraged everyone to join in. Then Dana, Chris, and I lip-synced the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boys of Company B as the Outreach Sisters, complete with an umbrella grand finale. The residents requested a hoedown for our next program, so of course we had to comply. Dressed in our overalls and straw hats, we presented video clips of Western TV shows from the 50s and 60s, including Bonanza, Gunsmoke, and The Rifleman. The music component included country singers from the same era, Dolly Parton, Patsy Cline, Glenn Campbell, and Tex Ritter. We served root beer floats and provided fun gifts through a raffle.
Outreach Services received grant funding from the National Network of Libraries of Medicine to purchase technology and lead healthcare training at local senior facilities. We partnered with the Galter Health Sciences Library of the Feinberg School of Medicine at Northwestern University Chicago, who led the training event. Over 50 seniors attended both training sessions. Outreach provided refreshments and fun raffle prizes. Seniors learned how to find reliable and valuable healthcare information online, how to spot fake healthcare news, and how to use Google safely to find accurate healthcare information. Seniors also learned how to utilize health databases and medical association websites recommended and approved by the Galter Health Sciences Library and the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, such as Medline Plus, the Center for Disease Control, and clinical trials. Our library also hosts a couple programs. Our Outreach Services Department also hosts a couple programs at our library. Outreach hosts Senior O programs at the library, where a guest instructor teaches participants to paint a picture from start to finish. We host the art program 3 to 4 times a year with a new painting each season. The library purchases all the materials and supplies, including the canvas, paintbrushes, and easels. We play jazz and blues music during the program, such as Michael Bublé and Frank Sinatra. Each art program lasts around 2 hours and accommodates 16 seniors. Each April, the library partners with the St. Charles Park District to host a local senior spelling bee at the library. The bee is open to anyone who is 50 or older. The winner and runner-up of the local bee enter into a regional bee, which then feeds into a statewide senior spelling bee. The statewide senior spelling bee takes place at the Illinois State Fair each August. The 2016 Illinois State Senior Spelling Bee champion was from St. Charles and is one of our patrons. Is there any questions that Lynda or I can ask about our senior program that we present at our senior facilities or at the library?
Great, thanks, David. Yeah, if anyone has any questions that you want to throw in the chat, we can have David and Lynda address those. So I see the first one. One of them is here. Will there be a copy of the PowerPoint sent to participants?
Yes, I'd be happy. Could I email that to you, Derek? Could I email that to you and then you could share it with everybody?
Yep, absolutely. So we'll send a copy
Perfect.
of PowerPoint along with a recording of the presentation as well.
Sure, I'd be very happy to do that. Thank you.
Another question, how do you evaluate the programs?
So kind of, as Lynda and I mentioned, we've only been doing programming for about less than 3 years. And, you know, when we started, we just started bringing coffee table books, and slowly that has evolved. And now we have a strong following at our senior facilities with the patrons, and word has gotten around. And so we always, it's really been it's been a learning in progress. And as we always say, if something doesn't work, try it and try it again. But we've been very successful with the programming that we have had been attempted with. And we're lucky we have our board and director manager support with the programming that we provide.
Great. And then do you use volunteers at the events, offsite and in the library?
It's mostly all outreach staff that leads the programs at the facilities. We do have a volunteer, one of our outreach volunteers, who helps us twice a month on our weekly programmings on Thursday mornings when we offer a weekly programming at a care center. But it's mostly all the programs we provide are mostly all led by outreach staff.
Okay. And then this kind of tailors onto that, but I know many of these facilities have activities coordinators. And do you work with them to put on these programs?
Lynda, would you like to answer that one?
Yes, we work very closely with the coordinators. At our apartment complexes, there isn't that kind of person, so that's all on us. Yes, we talk to the coordinators about what we're thinking of doing, and we're encouraged to do that in most cases. They're welcome to have us there.
And as we always say is, you know, we provide programming that a facility could not provide. We can do research. We have access to educational databases that we can do the research and bring in the history and the facts that most facilities don't have access to libraries, resources, and databases. So we're able to bring a different type of programming into facilities, actually.
Okay. And that there's another question here that actually is a nice segue from what you were just talking about. They're asking, do you catch any flack for programs that don't necessarily promote library materials and services? And any advice for those individuals who might?
What do you think, Lynda, for that?
Well, I don't think we do you mean more of our song and dance type ones? We do try to keep education component in everything that we do take. So far I haven't gotten any flack.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any flack. You know, the components of our programming are always education and encourage engagement. Those are the two values and beliefs that we try to do for all of our programming. But I don't think we've really had any flack or any negative response really before.
That's great. There's a question, how else do you use smell in the activities, like old perfumes or anything like that?
That is a great question. Next week, we are doing an attic program which uses the antique and vintage items, and we're using smell. So we're using perfume. So I actually have them out here. We're preparing this. We're doing an attic program on vintage perfumes from the 40s to 70s. So we're talking about Taboo and Windsong for women, and Jade East and Old Spice for men. And we're going to be incorporating smell, and we're very excited about to do this and bring a smell. And we're trying to incorporate all the senses as much as possible.
Okay, and the next question, how do you handle events where the patrons just aren't engaged or not responding to your questions? Do you have strategies for getting them talking, for any programs that require back and forth conversations, especially those with dementia?
Well, we always say, you might not realize that you're reaching them, or they might not respond, but you are reaching them and you are making a difference. They might not engage, but you are reaching them. Like I said, they might not respond, but you are making the difference and impact. So I said, when we present to a large group, it could only be a few patrons that respond or interact, but everybody is listening on some level, and you are making a difference and you are reaching them. We presented a program on Wednesday, an attic program in national parks. And there's only there's like 19 people, maybe only 4 or 5 were participating, but we were really making the impact and we're reaching everybody there.
Great.
Anything else you would like to add to that, Lynda?
Yes, when we're in a group setting, when we have souvenirs on these national parks or whatever the topic, we do individually walk around with them. So we are talking one-on-one, even with the people that don't respond, and you can see the reaction on their faces, or they will say something. So they do respond. Well, it might not be coherent to most people, but we can tell that there is a reaction.
Okay, and the next question says, I know you're an outreach department, but do you coordinate with or mirror programming which occurs inside your building?
Not really. We do all of our own programming at facilities. So we are in charge of all the senior programming. So we really do not do anything inside the library other than the art program and the spelling bee, but everything else we are doing it all by ourselves, and we're creating and developing the program.
Sorry.
And is there anything else you wanted to add about that, Lynda?
We did take an art program on the road the other day, but that was our debut at that. So when we made this up, we didn't have that in the, and that worked out really well. We had a full house for that.
Great. And David, I don't know if you guys can see the chat, but you're getting lots of positive comments and feedback from the participants. So we'll make sure.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I just saw the one on fidget quilts.
Yeah.
Go through all that and have a chance to take a look at that. Another question came in about the fidget quilts. Are there any liabilities that you come into when giving them out? Any worries about people trying to pull off or eat the buttons or anything along those lines?
Lynda, would you like to take that one?
Yes, I actually made some of them myself, and that was one thing I did was I pulled on them as hard as I could to make sure that what I was attaching was not going to come off. We did actually have some that had items that came off quite easily, and we fixed them before we handed them out. So we are very careful about that.
And thank you, Brian. I saw your comment. Thank you very much, Brian Green. Thank you very much from Wyoming. I appreciate that.
I had a question about, you mentioned at one point related to the hoedown that was a resident request. Do you get much input from residents and others about the activities that they want you to put on, or are you coming up with most of these ideas on your own and implementing them?
Yes, we always are interested in requests. We take requests, and we're always interested. Our coworker Christine, she always takes requests. She just did a program on old Hollywood stars of the 1950s, such as Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe and Audrey Hepburn, and there were a couple ladies who were interested in old Hollywood glamour, so she went and she did that. But we also pick programs based on holidays. Chris just did a program 2 weeks ago on Arbor Day was coming up, so she did it on that. So we always are taking requests, and it's fun. We want to do programs that they're interested in and would enjoy.
Great. And I see a question from Karen. Do you visit the Alzheimer's wing at Greenfields?
Greenfields is in Geneva, Illinois, so they're in the community next to us. So we do not go there. The Geneva Library does.
Okay. And this is a question, how do you promote these programs? Is it done through the facility, or how do you engage residents?
The programs are promoted through the facilities. The Life Enrichment Coordinators, we have a set schedule when we come every week or every month. We usually inform them of the theme ahead of time. So in May, we are doing Tales and Travel, so they're aware that we're doing Hawaii and the attic program that we are doing. But they know when we're coming. We have set times for all of our programs.
Okay. And have you noticed an increase at all in circulation related to these programs?
Lynda, would you like to take that one?
A lot of times when we're doing a program, it's for people who are no longer reading, so our circulation may not go up. We take materials with us that we have checked out, but I don't think it would impact our circulation records by very much.
Okay. And then another question. You've talked about some of the facilities people that you've partnered with before, and you talked a little bit about some of the different musicians and other partnerships. Mm-hmm. How have you gone about securing those partnerships? Have you found people are interested in engaging with you in that, or what's been your experience in trying to develop those partnerships?
For the music programs, or in particular?
For the music, and I guess just other outside individuals or organizations that are participating.
People are always interested, reaching out. I said I'm a musician, so at the music programs, I have a lot of friends who are interested in participating. So I usually put on the flute orchestra concerts, and my friends and I play it at a care center. We do it once or twice a year. But there's a lot of people on staff who are very talented. And we send out a staff email prior to the sing-along. And last year, I think we had about 15 people, and people bring their friends and family. People just like giving back to the community. So it's always something that we always look forward to, and the staff looks forward to for the programming.
Excellent. There's a question about handling the age appropriateness of the props and books. How do you handle that?
Would you like to take that one, Lynda?
Well, the books, we take children's books because they have the best pictures, and the words tend to be printed in a large font. The patrons don't seem to mind that they're looking at children's books. They're more interested in the content. You may get a couple of comments about, well, that's a children's book, but the props themselves, we don't have toys, so everything is from when those people were in their adult years, and they embrace them. There's never been any kind of negative comments about the props that we're showing.
And when we read a folklore for Tales and Travel, we always type up the folklore. So we're not reading from the book, and it's usually the folklore is from a children's book where we type it up and we put we put images on there, so it's more, so it does not look like we're reading from a children's book. We retype up the folklore and make it our own.
All right, and the next question is, was the funding process difficult?
We are lucky. We have our friends give us some money for our programming, but also our staff has been quite the asset in getting materials. They said, I just sent a staff email about getting materials for Hawaii. And we also, people are always interested in donating to the cause. We've also advocated on social media for the fidget quilts and other items. So our staff are always interested and willing to help out whenever we can. But we shop at flea markets and thrift stores. It says Etsy has been a great thing. So there are so many things that we've done on a budget. So it's really been for shop to sales. So that's one thing we've done. And a couple of times when we've shopped on Etsy is people we say this is for a dementia program, they send us extra stuff. They send us more things. They said once I ordered something on our travel program on airlines, and I got a box 3 weeks later. Somebody was retiring, and they sent us a box of 10 things, and they said these are for your patrons with dementia. So always ask. So.
Good, and I'll just throw a plug in that I think the funding process through the National Network of Library of Medicine is generally pretty easy. And if you're not familiar with the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, no matter what state you're joining us from today, even though I'm from the greater Midwest region, there's a regional office or a regional library that serves your state. And each regional office offers funding awards to organizations within those states that are doing projects related to improving the public's health through access to reliable health information. And so I know David was a recipient of that, and he mentioned it, but I'd encourage you to take a look at our website, nnlm.gov, and find the regional office that you guys would serve your region or your state, and see what funding opportunities might still be available. I know in our region, we're still accepting applications from organizations like public libraries to do outreach services. A few more comments coming in, just complimenting the services that you guys put together. One idea, putting out a newsletter to share all your awesome ideas. So great feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? We'll just give another minute here just to see if anybody wants to finish up typing a final question for David or Lynda. What's next?
What's next? We were talking about that today. I think we have our next project we're kind of working on something. So we're always trying to find new ways to make a difference and make an impact in the lives of our seniors and impacting the community, and a way to just make a difference.
So what is the time frame for your activity?
You mean how long do we stay at a facility doing?
In respect to attention span.
We try to make all of our programs about 25 to 30 minutes, no more than 35. That's like the perfect length is around 30 minutes, give or take, if it's for the best for our senior population. And thank you.
All right. And then
thank everyone for all your great comments.
Thank you for everybody for your great comments. And thank you to the National Network of Libraries of Medicine for allowing us to present today.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a final slide, or is this the last one?
Yep, there's one. And these are all of our resources that we got the information from on the growing senior population.
And then, yeah, I just want to thank David and Lynda again as well. They're doing great work. We can see from the comments from everyone really interested in the activities that you guys are putting together, very innovative and creative. In terms of, I mentioned the National Network of Libraries of Medicine is a resource for funding projects that do outreach. We're also a member organization. If you are working at a public library or a senior center or another community-based organization, it's free to join. You can see the URL on the slide there. We encourage any organization that shares a commitment to improving the public's health through reliable health information access to join and demonstrate your commitment and shared mission in that work. We also have other resources that are available through our organization, a free Medline Plus magazine that promotes consumer health information. I mentioned funding. We also have complimentary printouts and posters that you can order for libraries and patrons that are part of the Libraries Transform campaign. You can see one of those examples here on the slide, because fake news is harmful to your health. So these are free that we can ship out and you can post and hang within your organization or your library. We're also on Twitter, the GMR, and Facebook, and would encourage you to give us your feedback and connect with us as we look to better engage those of you who are doing such good work. So with that, I want to thank David and Lynda again. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I mentioned again, we will send out an email with the slides, as well as a recording of this webinar, so you can reference it again, and that'll come out in about a week, and that will include a survey for an evaluation survey, as well as give you a code to get 1 continuing education credit through the Medical Library Association. So thank you all, and I will leave this up for any final chats that anybody has, but this will officially conclude the presentation.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and feel free to contact us if you have any questions or want some more information.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for watching. This video was produced by the National Network of Libraries of Medicine. Select the circular channel icon to subscribe to our channel. Select a video thumbnail to watch another video from the channel.